Over the years, I came to appreciate having a hard time in nature, enjoying it for what it is, and just accepting the fact that it's hard. In 2016, I was fighting more the fact that it was hard. I wanted it to go more smooth and easier, which wasn't going to happen because when you set out to run from Mexico to Canada, you know it will be hard. One summer when I was at university, I decided to go to the United States to volunteer in some of the national parks. Almost all of the volunteers were talking about those epic trails like Pacific Crest Trail and Appalachian Trail, and the fact that one day they wanted to hike one of these trails. And at that time, I already put it on my bucket list as well. As I started working as a dentist, I also realized, it's probably going to take me 40 years in order to be able to take 4 or 6 months off work. And at the time I got a little bit into ultra running, and I thought, ultra running is fun. I seem to have like a bit of a talent for it. So maybe I should ultra run the PCT. While I'm going to run the PCT, maybe I should check out if there's like a record on it or something. Does that even happen, or do people track records on trails like that? And then I do find the record of Joe Stringbean. And I thought it was 49 miles a day. And just before that I ran a 50 miler, and the day after I felt really great. So I thought, sounds like a good idea. I pitched the idea to my brother-in-law. To my big surprise, instead of calling me a fool, he said, "Oh yeah, sounds like a good idea. If you would do something like that, I would support you, and just let me know."
I think it was on Christmas Eve, Joe and Karel, and they were like, we want to say something. We want to do the PCT together, and Joe wants to crew me and I want to run it, and we'll try to, if possible, to set a record. And we were all like, what the hell?
The PCT in general, I just felt like we didn't have a clue, like really realizing what we were doing is crazy.
I remember hearing what he was doing, and of course it was impossible to understand what he was really doing, but just the stories like running 2 marathons a day, 50 days in a row, all that stuff, and then with the elevation change.
It was so naive. I don't think they prepared it very well. They had no idea how it works with supplies or nothing at all.
We had to know that it would be a struggle, but we somehow thought, let's do this and let's see what happens.
I was his crew, for most of the time his only crew. I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
If I'm totally honest, the PCT was kind of a traumatizing experience, especially because, you can suffer for 10 hours, 20 hours in an ultramarathon, but when it came to pain in the PCT, it was 30 days, and 30 days is long. And since then, I've evolved by running the Appalachian Trail, by becoming world champion backyard ultra, by finishing the Barkley Marathons now. I kind of find the mindset now that I can just accept suffering at a certain moment.
He has a crazy strong mind. If he says, I will do it, he does it. So if he says, I'm going to do this, I believe him 100% that he will do it. You can just rely on him. And then next to that, he has this incredible strong body.
When Karel told me, hey, I want to go back and do it again, I was like, man, you're crazy. You just forgot how much pain you had. But I gotta be honest, if we talk about the PCT, we always say you would do at least a couple of days better because we made so many mistakes. But the first thought in my mind was, no, I'm not doing it. That was just an immediate reflex. But I get why he's doing it though.
Now the PCT is coming at a time where the dental practice has taken a bigger part of my life. I got sucked into a loophole a bit again of work. And now the PCT is coming at a really good time. I'm looking forward to just the peace and calm of just being out there in nature again.
We already walked for a year in New Zealand, twice. He did volunteering work in the United States, and that was back when he had time, and now the time is just not there, so he can do FKTs. So I guess he's just really feeling out where his capabilities are, and I don't think he's reached them yet.
I'm not actively looking for suffering and especially not for pain, but I just know now, okay, it's temporary.
Oh, I know he'll suffer. I think he forgot, but he'll suffer again. But you know, it's that he's looking for, and he wants to prove he can do better.
My role this time around is to be crew leader, and I'm taking over the role of Joe, who's been his main man for the last few years.
Henry and Joe were together on the Via Alpina, and Joe basically explained everything to Henry, so Henry could take up the role of Joe.
Now the team consists of 4 main people next to Karel.
Yeah, I would say I'm mostly pacer, and then anything else I can help with behind the scenes, I'm definitely down for as well.
I've heard some stories about the previous PCT, about Via Alpina, about the AT. So I knew this was not going to be a vacation, like not going to be luxurious or anything, which I'm totally fine with. When he asked me if I wanted to join, I was like, yep, absolutely.
My part in the puzzle is that I look after the food because I know a bit what he likes, and I know it's important that he eats a lot.
The added dynamic of having a crew supporting you, just from a social perspective, is just so nice. It's just such an added value of running a trail like that with people supporting you that you love and that you cherish. I do respect self-supported record attempts like immensely, and it's so interesting to follow people who go for the AT or the PCT self-supported. But my interest is in doing it supported. We will have one crew vehicle and that's it. So it's very low profile, and that remains important to me as well. So I do know my exact time for the PCT from 2016. That was 52 days, 8 hours and 25 minutes. Timothy Olsen broke my record by 16 hours. So sub 50 would be nice, but we'll see. First goal is to have a great adventure and to set a record again. I look at the PCT as like 5 major parts, but the PCT in general, to me, it's like the hike of the world. I mean, it's maybe because I've always been a fan of the United States and of its nature and the national parks. But to me, it doesn't have its comparison in other places worldwide. I mean, it's so varied and it's so protected, and it's so single track from Mexico to Canada. I mean, as a hiker and as someone who loves nature so much, it's just a dream. I mean, it's the reason I go back there, just because I think it's the most spectacular trail in the world. So it starts off with Southern California, which is it's a desert. It's really hot, but to me it's already really beautiful. Like the sunrises and sunsets are so spectacular. Back in 2016, because of my lack of knowledge of ultra running, I was just running throughout the day. So 14 hours in 108 degrees Fahrenheit. Result, day 10 is a heat stroke and throwing up and yeah, dangerous situations. So now I'm going to start by running at night because of the extreme heat in the desert in the middle of July.
See you in 20 miles.
Thanks. Come on, mate. First stretch, 20 miles? Yeah.
Slept our first time during the day. Day 1 went super smooth, 59.5 miles. It was a bit difficult because of the heat. All of us were sweating so badly, but we still think it's the best approach to the desert section, because running in that heat is even worse than sleeping in it. But great first day. Muscles feel good today. After all the things I've done in the past, I'm used to running on tired muscles, so I hope to go for another smooth and great day. So let's do this again.
Well, it was a very good choice to run at night because of the heat. The moments that we had during the day were just really hard to endure from time to time. I think Karel slept the most hours during that first chapter, but for the crew it was really hard. We tried to sleep a bit at night when Karel was running, but during the day I had a few nights where I didn't sleep because it was too hot and the sun's up and your brain just doesn't get it that you need to sleep even though you're tired, and then it gets confusing. You say good morning to people in the evening and people think you're weird, and I think a few of us were losing their minds because of the whole changed rhythm.
Daytime, nighttime, sleep, dark, sunrise, sunset, it's all confusing.
We want to be there before Karel, but we try and anticipate that as much as possible, that we just are at spots before Karel is, and then in the desert we slept at those times because during the day it was not possible to sleep. So I got like 1 hour, 1.5 hours of sleep sometimes at night.
I think especially in the desert they suffered as well, because sleeping during the day in 110 degrees Fahrenheit, it's impossible. If you haven't run 2 marathons, I could sleep a bit, but they couldn't. And they didn't express that to me because we kind of had the silent agreement that it doesn't help them for me to say, okay, I'm suffering, I'm having a hard time. It's voluntary, I need to accept it from the start. And they didn't complain to me like, hey Karel, we're not sleeping. Henry, Kobe, Anna, my wife, they know what it is to support on a record attempt. They were there in the Alps and the Appalachian Trail. Everybody knows that it's not coming for free. It's hard at times, very hard at times.
Mijn heupen zijn al aan het opkampen. Dus,
ja. Voor de komende dagen zou het eigenlijk handiger zijn, moest het toch doorlopen. Ja. Hier een lange dag.
Vandaag?
Ja. Je wilde het beslissen over de dag. Moet ik zeggen waarom dat ik het doe?
Ja.
Omdat we dan de dag daarna, zou je dan dit hier doen.
Ja.
Hier en dan helemaal naar beneden. Die moet je sowieso in één keer doen. En dan hier ook in één keer. En dus ofwel moet je hier stoppen, maar dat is like veel te vroeg, gelijk hoe.
Ja.
Maar dan om hier te geraken, is het beter dat je vandaag een stukje verder doet. Om dan hier eigenlijk een dag te doen van 94 om hier te geraken.
Ja.
De dag daarna zou dan wel door dat 74 zijn.
Oei, kilometer.
Ja. Ik kan dat wel nog checken om daar wat verder te gaan.
Ja. Maar wacht, deze achter zou mijn eigen.
Ja, maar ik zal het meepakken.
Erik, net erop. Ja, zo leuk. Uiteindelijk een keer gelukt is.
Ja, ja, ja.
Eigenlijk bloed aan die dingen?
Oh ja, ik heb bloednis gehad.
Ah, oké.
Single track delight.
Mooi hè?
Wat denkt de Erik?
Ik goed doen het hè.
The second chapter, which was the Sierras, this is when we changed the schedule and we started running during the daytime and slept at night. This is where I had my best night and recovered a bit from the sleep deprivation.
This year, the snowpack is going to impact the record attempt because California has never seen so much snow since the beginning of measurements in the high Sierras.
This means because there was so much snow, it all needs to melt, and so now it means that the rivers are super high. and some bridges have collapsed. Some of the rivers are just impossible to cross. And we've known this for a few months now, and it's something we've been keeping an eye for. So we decided to delay the project by 1 month. There's of course some risks involved in that because now it's going to get hotter and we will be encountering forest fires.
With these snow conditions, if it was all about the record for me, I wouldn't do it this year for sure. I mean, it's going to be too much of an impact. Maybe a smaller one, maybe a huge one, but it's going to impact me. And if it would be all about the record, I would just have to postpone it by a year. I think the most difficult moment during the entire PCT was like 2 days before hitting the High Sierra. Because all the time you are following up a bit and you see, okay, it's melting, but not fast enough. And then suddenly we realized, okay, the situation it is at the moment is going to be what we are hitting in the High Sierra. And we were getting very bad reports from people who had gone through. Everybody was leaving the high mountains. They were saying, yeah, it's unsafe, it's dangerous. The rivers are super high. And yeah, I did have a bit of a panicky moment in the desert where I suddenly said in a voice message to the crew, like, guys, I don't think I want to go alone into the High Sierra.
I remember the moment that Henry was walking up to us and I were standing beside the car, and he was playing Karel's message, and it was for the first time that I could hear fear in his voice. I mean, usually you can tell it doesn't really get to him, but at this point it was really like you could tell, oh, he's really concerned. Like he's genuinely considering if this FKT this year is actually a good idea.
A certain river crossing, either I would cross it when it would be unsafe to cross just in order to set the record, or I would think it's uncrossable, but maybe with somebody next to me they would say, yeah, actually it's doable. So in both directions it would be difficult to make those decisions alone, being tired, being hungry and everything.
And so when Karel asked the question, Henry, he didn't even think. He was like, yeah, I'm down. And I was like, no, I'm gonna be the guy that's not gonna join.
So then Henry and Kobe said, okay, we join you. We take the regular backpacks and we buy the ice axes and we go together. And that was very comforting to me.
You could tell he went from, I'm really not sure if this is the year, to the moment we had mentioned that we're down, we're joining you, he almost didn't think about it anymore. It was almost like his mind was at that point at ease and we hadn't even done a thing except for commit to join him.
A lot of the snow had melted out. The peak of the rivers had already passed. Essentially, we went through the Sierras with 3 of us to start.
Those guys hitting the high mountains together with me, I mean, it was going to be way over their limit as well. Kobe was very uncomfortable doing river crossings and he said, okay, I'll go with you guys. And I was uncomfortable on steep snow and Henry was super comfortable on snow. We had this triangle of strengths and weaknesses and we were doing it as a team, and it was so rewarding.
I can still recall when we were doing the first crossing, like just fear was raging through my body. But at that point I also know I can handle this level of fear and I'll be an asset to the team. But it was not as straightforward for me as it was for Henry to make that call.
We made the switch from running to hiking because of all the gear we need. Ice axe, crampons, or micro spikes, food for a couple of days, mosquito net, mattress, sleeping bag. We decided to go without a tent because that would make us way too slow, but of those 2 nights it rains in the High Sierras a year. Last night was one of them, so our sleeping bags are drenched. But we're in good spirits. We had our first 2 crossings of the day. They went fine. Now we have a more difficult one. So for every stream we have alternatives. Usually it's hiking upstream to find a calmer spot to cross at a meadow or something, so we'll go upstream a bit now and see.
After 1 day it was a hard day, but we realized, okay, this is going to be possible, and the FKT is still on.
We managed to get through the river crossings. It gave Karel I think, a lot of comfort that there wasn't too much snow left. So after 2 days, he said, like, okay, I can continue by myself.
We hiked another half day together, and then we decided, okay, there was a way out for Henry and Kobe. It was a special moment and a beautiful moment in the way that, okay, after 6 months of doubts, is the snow going to end the FKT altogether or make it impossible? And then realizing with enough persistence that we were going to be able to set the FKT gave us a lot of positive energy.
So this is what made it almost impossible to go for an FKT attempt in 2023. Just so much snow, and it's melting so fast now that there's no trail, because those few hikers who go through, their traces melt immediately. So there are 3 challenges in a high snow year. That's snow, that's crossings, and that's blowdowns. Just tons of fallen trees on the trail, which of course makes for slow progress. Had a good night. Now I'm on my way again on the snow, but the snow is frozen solid and I've put on my spikes, and actually I'm moving quite well, so let's get off the snow before the sun hits and get going.
It transitions into Yosemite National Park, Sequoia National Park, Kings Canyon. I mean, it's Yosemite, it's those places, they are world famous and they are so wild as well and very challenging as well as a hiker or as a runner because of the elevation and the elevation change as well.
I thought he was much more machine-like this must be a guy who's running through walls, but he's so normal.
He always appreciated what we were doing for him, and I think because we're friends and family, I think we can see somehow that he's got some difficult moments, but it's only difficult for him. He never projects this to the rest of the team, and I think that's something we appreciate really in him.
He's super normal, like normal about everything he does. For us, it's like, wow, what are you doing? It's incredible, and it is incredible, but he's not braggy about what he does. The way he is here at the record attempt, he's super grateful. Like every time he's like, oh, thank you guys so much for everything you do. And it's really nice to feel appreciated like that. And I already knew beforehand he's a person like that.
The next part was the end of the Sierras and start of the forest regions.
You transition into Northern California, which was a big surprise to me the first time I ran the PCT, because I didn't expect such beautiful scenery at the time. You have more the volcanic sceneries like Lassen Volcanic and Mount Shasta that you run around entirely and was also very, very beautiful.
Still in a good spot, taking it day by day. Yesterday was the midway point.
Karel. Cheers to Karel.
Cheers.
How's it feel to be halfway?
Yeah, nice. I don't want to pay too much attention to it because it's just a number, but we're in a good spot.
Is that dentist approved?
Nope, not at all.
Don't try it at home, kids.
My days as a dentist, full-time dentist, were pretty intense. I mean, you need to be so focused on such a small area that I realized the whole training process was also so helpful and rewarding to me to combine it with a busy job. So basically my mindset behind not researching the record that I'm going for too much is the fact that for me, the adventure part of it is the reason that I'm doing it. My life is very organized. The dental practice is very strict and has to be very organized. And so when I'm running and when I'm going for adventure in nature, I just want the opposite.
It's waking up every day, quarter before 4. It's like he just, where most people would say I need a rest day.
He's robotic.
He's very strong in that sense.
When you are going for a record, you need to go all the way. And if that means seeing my son a bit less or only be able to hug him for 2 minutes and then have to carry on, I mean, that's the reality of a record attempt. But it will mean a lot to me to see him once a week and just to realize it's not the end of the world that I'm suffering or behind schedule or whatever.
It's like this burst of light that comes into your life. And yeah, it's necessary to see him every couple of days. And I think for Karel it made also a big difference.
We accompany his son and we try to meet up with Karel every 2-3 days for a few minutes when the track is crossing the street where we go by. Then we love to meet him and we give him a hug and he sees his son. It gives him an extra motivation to continue. Now we will look 2-3 days further up north where we can probably meet him again.
Everything becomes a lot more basic, and yeah, pretty soon you start to realize that in life you don't need that much to be perfectly happy, and that's so welcoming and always a very welcome feeling, because even though I know you don't need much to be happy, once you start working again and yeah, you have so much going on, you kind of forget again that it's easier than that. And it's always nice to go back to nature and to search your limits and in the meantime appreciate life again, the way that it can be beautiful and simple. We got a message through the tracker that the crew had a flat tire on the gravel road leading to the trailhead to hike in. So we're waiting for Henry to join us with the tent and gear and everything. He's texted us that the tire was fixed, but they'll still need to hike 1.6 miles.
I've never been part of a project with this level of dedication, not at school, not at work, nowhere I have seen people come together in a way like this.
We're at the Oregon border and then Henry got a message like, hey, what was my actual start time? I think I can make it in sub 30 days. So we checked, it's at 7:41 p.m. So then Henry ran back. He was like, Karel. It's like, it's 4 minutes sooner, like run. So he ran and he got to the border with 2 minutes to spare until we were at 30 days.
We made it to the border between California and Oregon in a record time of 29 days, 23 hours, 58 minutes. So I squeezed in a sub 30 day California.
The fourth chapter would be Oregon.
Oregon is also beautiful with its volcanoes, and fires happen, floodings happen, heat waves happen, so you can go into the PCT wanting a perfect, predictable experience. That's not why you sign up for the PCT.
There's been so many wildfires over the last few years, and so now you run through burnt areas and it's exposed. It's just not nice to look at. It's apocalyptic. It's dusty. It's hot. It's a sad thing to see, essentially.
I'm currently running through a wasteland after a huge fire came through here last year, and it's crazy the damage it has done. Every day I'm going northwards. I'm happy that it's one less day to have the chance to be stopped by a wildfire, and they are so common nowadays, unfortunately. I'm about to get into the forest again, which will be very welcome because here it's so exposed to the sun. It's 30 degrees Celsius and it's so much cooler and more beautiful in the forest. So. Yeah, it's always nice when people are cheering for you.
Maybe 10 years ago, people were looking down a bit on record attempts, like, why hurry, it's so beautiful and you need to smell the roses and everything. But I didn't experience that once this time, so maybe there's a mind shift, or maybe it was never like that, but everybody was so supportive, and I really felt part of the PCT class of 2023 and part of the thru hiking community. So it was so encouraging to see everybody rooting for me and applauding and asking for selfies and saying, oh, what you do is amazing. And it really felt like I was part of the thru hiking community, and it gave me a lot of energy. Sometimes I had a difficult moment, and then there were like 6 thru hikers on the side of the trail, like, oh, there he is, go, go, go. I always see it as some kind of purification. Like, I do work a lot. It's a busy job as a dentist, and when you're out there in nature for such a long time, I kind of see it as a transition. Physically, you lose your fat and you lose everything you don't need, and it's the same mentally. In the beginning, you're still thinking about your job and about the snow and whatever, and then gradually you get into this purer and purer state of mind that you are just happy with cold water from a stream and happy with just a mattress and a tent and seeing your friends again, and everything becomes a lot more basic.
During the meetups, he's always busy and he wants to talk, and then he forgets to eat, and then when he's running, he doesn't get much opportunity to get some solid food. So mostly I try to feed him as much as possible, because yeah, he has to get 10,000 calories every day. Yeah, it's weird giving him food, but like a baby, but it's the only way it works. Yeah. he won't take the spoon himself because he's doing his feet, or I don't know what he's doing. So I think it does make a difference, all the food he get like this. So yeah, wife duty.
Today is the day I'm going to pass the Bridge of the Gods, which was my all-time low back in 2016 when I passed there. And at the time my feet were so damaged that the pain was unbearable. So I made it to the bridge at like 2 a.m. in the morning. Yeah, my feet were still hurting when I had to cross the bridge. My feet are starting to suffer a bit as well, but it's easy, or it's nice to be able to compare with 2016, where things were much worse.
We still haven't figured out how it works with the Oregon records. Okay. Because we started out by sleeping 8 hours, so it doesn't make sense that we would have broken it.
So the records is
14 hours.
7 days, 14 hours, 37 minutes. And we're very, very bad at math after 37 days on the trail, so we're not sure.
Well, we're bad and we're making it confusing.
We got some messages coming in about the Oregon record being 7 days, 14 hours or something like that. Like, yeah, there's no way Karel's gonna beat that. I mean, he started at the border with 8 hours of sleep. If he gets here, I guess, within the hour. Yeah, he should get the record again.
And across the bridge. I think he also has to get across the bridge.
Because the border is like in the middle of the bridge, so we'll get him out of here fast so he can run across.
Yeah! Just to have a little kid who's 3 years old, who's happy to see you and who's like joyful and oh yeah, go run, Dad, and you need to go already, or yeah. So that small hug and even those few seconds were so meaningful to me to have Jack around. And
He passed Oregon in 7 days, 13 hours and 23 minutes, which is like an hour better than the current FKT on Oregon part, so he's got 2 FKTs already, California and Oregon. 60+ miles a day gets you an Oregon record, even if you sleep 8 hours at the start.
The last chapter is in Washington, where the terrain gets a bit more rough again, more elevation gain, the trail is harder to get to.
There's like amazing forest, and then you think, now I've seen all the forest. And then you enter Washington, and then I feel like I'm in Lord of the Rings, and so it never stops.
Karel, can you tell us what border you crossed today?
Mexico? No, the one with Washington, where I had my all-time low last time I ran the PCT, and this time it was smooth. It was nice to have friends and family join and be in a much better spot than last time. So. One of my favorite places on the PCT is the Goat Rocks Wilderness. It's like above tree line, and you get these expansive views, and then you get to run like on a ridge, like in the famous trail running videos, like you're running on the steep ridge. that's called the Knife Edge. And then in the backdrop you have this huge mountain, Mount Rainier, and it's just such an epic view of the Pacific Crest Trail, and it's, I think, my favorite spot of the entire trail. I had this perfect image of me running on the ridge and then Mount Rainier in the backdrop, and then seeing the smoke roll in. I had the mindset of, okay, this is what's going on the PCT. There's smoke rolling in now. There are fires up north of me, and it's not going to be perfect. Once you start seeing the smoke, you're at first thinking, okay, I see smoke, but I can still run, so yeah, let's follow up on it. Then you start to smell the smoke, and you start to feel it when you're running, that the air quality is a bit below average.
My biggest fear between here and the Canadian border is getting hit by an active fire, because they are starting to pop up all over the place. But anyway, our focus has been from the start, control the controllables. We'll see what happens. Just cross our fingers for the fires not happening on trail.
I saw, okay, there are 2 fires really close to the trail now. There are closures in place. And from that time, my mind started racing too fast about these wildfires. So I was constantly thinking, how are we going to deal with this? Whenever I had cell service, I would check on the Facebook page of the National Forest because they were trying to extinguish it. I was trying to hope for it to go out and the PCT to open up again. I thought, yeah, I can't do this anymore. So I said to Kobe, yeah, let's agree with the crew. We don't mention the fire anymore for the next 4 or 5 days because that was how long it was going to take to reach it. Just brief me as the PCT entirely closed without alternate. It's what it is. If I do a 100-mile detour, 200-mile detour, it's what it is. If it's open again, perfect. But I had to store it away because it was on my mind too much.
I think we had a little bit of hope that the fire would be extinguished or the PCT would reopen, but it didn't happen. So we made preparations to where the detour was going to go, figure out how to get there.
He's gonna be running on his own for 2 days. Kobe's gonna meet him tonight, and then tomorrow night Henry's gonna meet him, but during the day he'll be running on his own. Right now I'm packing, so we got some bags of candy, trail mix, and he loves the trail mix with M&Ms in it. Then we think he'll need about 15 candy bars to get through 2 days. Some peanut M&Ms, beef jerky, chips, pretzel sticks, any other kind of salty snacks. So he can get a little bit of everything he wants. And then Emma is making sandwiches, so he gets some kind of real food.
This is his breakfast. Some Nutella and normally some speculoos pasta as well, and then some jelly or jam. And a lot of butter. He likes butter. So, voila.
The last week or so, everything changed so much just before the detour. There was an unexpected road closure due to wildfire that happened, I think, a week before, and the road was still closed.
we talked to people from the Forest Service. They're like, yeah, that road is totally no-go. We couldn't take the bike, couldn't take the trail that we wanted to take because it was closed.
Dus dat is sowieso een no-go, dat is helemaal... Karel is er sowieso al gepasseerd.
We doen niet meer Top Lake Trail.
Top Lake, ja, dan is het 26 kilometer.
Dus als we hier niet meer pakken.
Wacht, moeten we niet al sturen naar hem?
Nee. Zolang dat we geen oplossing aan kunnen bieden, gaan we niet sturen naar Karel.
Nee.
We kunnen gewoon naar daar en we kunnen hem daar uitleggen van kijk, we raken hier niet meer bij u, door een fire.
Ja.
Hoe ver zou je moeten lopen?
Wel, het eerste punt waar ik bij hem kan is dan morgen pas. Hè. Op Holden.
Ah oké, dus dan is het een detour al gestart.
Dus wat ik denk van oplossing is nu dat we Top Lake doen, dat we hem nu genoeg grief geven, zeggen van kijk, dat is nu de oplossing dat hij nu gewoon de dag doorloopt, of de nacht doorloopt.
Ja.
En dat ik morgen een boot en heel veel dingen neem en dat we dan gewoon vroeger slapen. Hè.
They don't say how hard it is for them because I know it's stressful, right? You drive up a gravel road, you don't know, is it going to be 5 miles that we can drive on it or 10 miles or do we need to find another one? And then they get flat tires, they try to not talk about it because I have a lot of time to think about everything. So when they say, yeah, we have a flat tire, the whole day I'm thinking, okay, will they be able to fix it or will they make it to the next spot?
This was the very last road and then trail that went to the PCT in a reasonable distance for us to hike on to set up camp for Karel. We put Kobe on the trail with a backpack.
What the fuck? Waarom is dat zo zwaar? Het zit geen water in.
Oh my god.
Ja, het zit wel vloeistof in. Hè. Het zit wel...
Gaat aan. Oh my god.
Ja, wat kan eruit? Niet? Nee, ja. Ja, Kobe. Dikke merci. Tot straks. Dan 2 dagen congé.
This can be happening. Karel had to wait for Kobe to arrive, which is a bad thing. Like his thing is, if you don't move, you sleep. But then he didn't move and didn't sleep, so this was a loss. He only did 50 miles that day, which was 10 miles short of what we had to do. And that kind of snowballed into the next couple of days.
So it rained pretty well last night. I didn't have the best night. I was really cold the first 3 hours I ran today in the dark, in the rain. But now it's getting better.
I looked at the map, I saw this village where we could do a resupply. But then I zoomed out on the map and I saw that there was no roads leading to these roads. So it was only a lake with a ferry boat to get there. For now, the plan is I have my backpack with all my stuff. We go to Holden and then I'll start hiking to the PCT and set up camp there for him. We took a ferry, I think 2.5 hours to get somewhere, then took a bus into this super remote village. We're going to Holden Village, one of the most isolated villages in the US. Is there any way he can get some food here when he passes through?
Yeah, of course.
Some quick snacks or something. He won't have time to sit down and eat.
Yeah.
It's super interesting and with very nice people. I think I had the best food there in all of the US. It was very nice. This will probably be the most memorable hiking of the PCT. The mountains are epic. The ferry was nice. The village was funny.
So for sure this will be my hardest day. At least so far. Hopefully on the entire PCT. It just took me 10 hours to do 56 kilometers. So Henry is hiking towards me. I guess another 7 hours, 8 hours. And then I will significantly start to slow down, so that's no use to continue.
We planned to hike 10 miles or 16 kilometers to where the detour joined the PCT, or where basically Karel had to go on the detour for the first time. But the days before that were quite difficult. So he didn't get there, or it was clear that he wasn't going to get to the junction. During the day he messaged me like, can you get to this campsite, which was another 10 miles on the PCT for me.
I just had my hardest day at that time. And I asked him, yeah, can you make it to that camp spot? Because I think that's all I can do today. I was pushing so hard, I was doing 17 hours on very rough terrain with a lot of elevation change. And he said, yeah, I can do it.
I think he ran 60 miles already, so anything further would have been a huge day, which, yeah, in the last week would have been too much. So in the end, I had to hike, run 20 miles to get to where Karel wants to camp. I will try to minimize the stops, just always keep going, and whenever I can run, I will run.
It's too much.
I mean, he was just smiling. You saw he had had a difficult few days, but he was a bit tired. But yeah, he got there. We smiled. We cracked a few jokes. Did our routine. We ate. He washed his feet, and he went to bed. And I think he apologized. That evening for the fact that he may be grumpy the next morning because we were going to have a short night. But the next morning, yeah, no grumpiness at all. So it's just, I think, yeah, the respect he has for us there is why it's so effortless for us to do this.
Henry hiked in 22 miles, but I didn't know how far he hiked. And then the morning after, I had to run everything that he had hiked the day before. And I was like, oh shit, he did go quite a way.
Morning. I was told to give these to you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good luck.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Have a good day. To see that it's beautiful as well, it's nice. You always somehow think a detour is going to be ugly or something, but no time. This detour is not up to PCT standards. These trails were trails, but I think only a handful of people take them every year. Maybe some hunters or local people. But I had to run through them, and they were so overgrown that my legs were torn and were looking like I had just completed the Barkley marathons.
There was so much overgrowth that we just drastically had to reduce our speed. It was really accepting that we weren't gonna go much faster than like maybe 3 kilometers an hour.
I almost got lost once because the GPS didn't match where the actual trail was. And suddenly I came to a dead end in these bushes. So I thought, okay, now we have it. I have to find a trail that's not there. But I pushed through a stream and through some shrubs again, and I find a faint trail again, and I continued on.
I've had it with all the scraping against my legs on this detour. It's all fireweed and briars and stuff.
Ja, door tot het einde, ja.
Ga je niet meer tijd?
Nee. Ja, zelf voor jullie te zien, we gaan dan snel bijklappen. Hè. Alles dat, inderdaad.
Gaan we best doen. Ja. Alles was super. Ik ben blij dat ik van die beker ben. Wat een slecht pad.
Ja, dus die gaan dan...
Ja.
Oké.
Ja.
Kobe's been running so well this whole month and a half. It's been incredible. And he was willing to, in this last 100 miles, to run a big part of it and carry as much as he could for Karel. So he decided to run until Hartspass, and then it made a lot of sense for me to be there and have the last meetup with the car where we had everything we needed. It was a really long way to get there, and it was in the middle of the night.
My last night on the PCT. I'm going back into desert style, running at night. I just think that such an FKT attempt on such an epic trail requires and deserves going through the last night, so that's what I'm doing.
For me and Kobe it was get in the car and just start driving. But then we had a flat tire on the way there, just constantly driving, maybe sleep 5 times 5 minutes just to really make it.
This is my last sunrise out on the trail, and I'm about to finish the Pacific Crest Trail. And what you see in the background is exactly why one should hike the PCT.
I started getting confusing information on where Karel would be. Obviously during the ride, and in Canada we didn't have cell reception, so there was no way for us to really know where he was. The crew didn't have internet, they didn't know. But yeah, obviously after having been here a month and a half and experiencing all of this together, I really wanted to be there at the finish line. And I just ran as fast as I could just to make sure that I made it.
Yes, mag je dat weer Kerel, hoe lang heb je erover gedaan? 1,5 uur?
Ja, Henry. Een uur en 22 minuten.
Hoeveel?
Een uur en 22 minuten.
Amai, minder of na. We 3 uur. Hij had er niets geslapen.
En heel de rit gereden, dan heb ik ook gereden.
Oh, die. Oh. Dat is verschrikkelijk.
This is it. The final mile of the PCT. 2,652 miles. I wanted to record this video now that I can still keep it dry. Yeah, the PCT is the best, most scenic, most epic, most beautiful, most unique trail in the world, and it was a privilege to run it for the second time, supported by wonderful people, and I'm so glad I was able to get the chance to go for it, see where my limits are in nature, in the wilderness. What a journey.
What is one of my approaches to a record attempt is to keep my emotions a little bit in check. I try to balance things out a bit, and towards the very end you feel like, okay, I can let go of everything now, I don't need to control my feelings anymore.
Karel is rounding the corner. Cheer him on.
So all these emotions come together into that finish, and yeah, then it's just like, I think I have some dirt in my eye, and then it starts flowing.
Kobe was a bit behind, but he arrived. I don't remember 10 seconds before or after Karel got there. But I was so happy that everyone was there, and we got to see Karel set such an amazing record. And yeah, it was the conclusion of an amazing adventure.
I would say that it's even something that he probably doesn't even know that he has done or meant for me. And it's just that because of the decisions he's made and the project that he's gone on, he's been such a huge inspiration for me. It's like he's created such an amazing space by showing what's possible that I have then allowed myself to also step into that space and start to explore that for myself.
It's been a great adventure. Super happy about everything we did, about the result Karel achieved, but with the team as well.
The goal was to get Karel as smooth as possible from the border of Mexico to Canada, and we all had our part in it. And I think the dedication was in some ways extreme, and I had to drive sometimes for 7 hours. Karel had to run, of course, sometimes 17 hours. Henry had to hike so far. You have to be a very good hiker to do what he did. And then Kobe was like, I think, the best co-runner you can have. So everyone went to extreme lengths.
There used to be a focus on, there's this guy running a record and all focus on the runner. But now as well, when they were talking about how strong the record was, they weren't saying, okay, the runner will have to be super strong to beat the record. They immediately added, and they will need at least a crew that's as solid as the one from Karel, because you could see the distances. Everybody was hiking and driving and all to get me as far as possible every day. The extreme dedication of Henry and Kobe and Anna and Emma. My parents, I mean, it's not the easiest job to take care of a kid for 50 days in the wilderness as well. The thing is, I know what it is now to run 2 marathons a day, and I know when you're doing something extremely hard, the rewards are big as well. The experience you get in nature when you're pushing hard and pushing your limits, it's a beautiful moment and something you cannot forget. We reached the Canadian border in record time, so that's something to be extremely proud of.